Welcome to Front Office Pros. In our last episode, we talked about free agency losers, and we're back to give you our free agency winners. Joe and I will give 3 players each that we determine as free agency winners. Before we get started, if you do like this video, we ask you to smash that like button so others can find it as well.
Hike!
All right, Joe, so who is your first free agency winner?
Yeah, my first free agency winner is going to be quarterback Justin Fields. You know, it's the Bears had a lot of money to spend this offseason and high draft picks, and they go out and traded back in the draft and acquired DJ Moore to really bolster that offense. And finally, Justin Fields has a number 1 wide receiver to throw the ball to, and added some really nice weapons in the offense. So I think he's a big free agency winner this offseason.
Yeah, Justin Fields really has no excuse going into this season. Now he's got DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Scott Cole Kmet. Maybe they got Herbert and Foreman. Maybe they'll add another running back in the mix. But it'll be interesting to see if they open up that offense and really allow Fields, to throw the ball, or if it's going to be more of what we saw last year.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how he progresses. He did a lot with his legs and provided a lot of fantasy value through his rushing yards. But now that they've added, DJ Moore, bring in a guy like Tunyon as well, veteran tight end. I'm interested to see if his passing numbers are going to increase or if they, have more passing attempts, and just curious to see what this overall Chicago offense looks like.
So my first free agency winner is wide receiver Chris Olave. Now that quarterback Derek Carr is a New Orleans Saint, I think this is really going to help him. Last year, he only played in 15 games, but had over 119 targets with 72 catches and 1,042 yards with 4 touchdowns. Michael Thomas can't stay healthy, and I think Derek Carr is going to be targeting Chris Olave quite a lot. So really like his prospects for next year with Carr as the quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. Olave was definitely a winner with Carr coming over. I think that the Saints getting Carr helps him the most, especially for fantasy purposes. We've seen Carr, hyper targeted wide receiver number 1. We saw it last year with Devontae, got plenty of targets in the offense. So definitely excited for Chris Olave this year. My second winner is going to be running back Miles Sanders. He's coming off his best season with the Eagles, now coming over to the Panthers, where I expect him to, truly be the leader of that backfield, kind of unlike his situation, with the Eagles. They really shared the carries a lot. Expect him to get more of the workload, especially, rushing and passing game. So look for him to have a good year this year.
I honestly can't think of a better spot for Miles Sanders, as far as where he could have gone in free agency. He reunites with Deuce Staley, and in his rookie year when he was there, he received his most targets. So I think he could get more involved in the passing game. And then you've got really no one behind him. You got Chuba Hubbard, but I don't think he's never really been a mainstay for carries. He's more so a role player. So he's going to get carries. He's going to get targets. So I think his volume is going to be up, and they're going to need him because most likely going to have a rookie quarterback. If Andy Dalton isn't starting a majority of the year. So they're going to have to rely on Miles Sanders in that running game. I know the offensive line is going to be a lot worse, but I think it's going to make up for the amount of opportunities he'll get.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's, part of the reason he had a great year last year was just because of how good the Philadelphia offensive line is. Like you said, definitely take a step back there, but the volume should definitely help. And just fingers crossed that, the Panthers don't add somebody in the draft at running back.
So my second free agency winner is quarterback Deshaun Watson. Watson came back this year and played 6 games after the suspension, and he really didn't look good. I mean, he was skipping passes to receivers. Really couldn't have been any worse. Had a 7-5 touchdown interception ratio. Going into this upcoming season, he's going to have a full training camp. And now you've got wide receiver Elijah Moore coming in. I think that's going to help him immensely, having a slot guy for him to rely upon. I also like that running back Kareem Hunt so far has not come back to the team. This Browns team has been a run first team for quite some time when they've had Baker. And now that Watson's come in, the rumors were that they were going to become more of a passing offense and really have the offense be centered around Deshaun Watson. So I think that's going to happen now. I mean, in 3 seasons, his 3 best seasons in Houston, he had 505 passing attempts, 495 passing attempts, and then 544 passing attempts. So I fully expect him to probably get over 500 passing attempts again. And now you've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, and Amari Cooper, and David Njoku. So this is a really good offense. I expect a big jump for him next season.
Yeah, I think he will have a nice jump as well, because it's going to be hard for him to play as bad as he did last year. You know, now that he's kind of knocked the rust off, he got to play a little bit in meaningful games. He's going to have a full training camp this year, and then with the increased weapons, especially having a guy like Elijah Moore who just simply has a talent to get open, and even on those short routes, so they don't have to, you know, hit the home run ball so much. I think Watson will come back to be normal and get back to the play that we've seen him in the past with the Texans. Yeah, my final free agency winner is going to be wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Now, this is under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Jets. You know, as he said on the Pat McAfee show that he intends to play with the Jets. You know, I think this trade will get done sooner rather than later. The draft is coming up, and I think that's the true deadline as far as that trade goes. But, yeah, I think as long as Rodgers is going to be the quarterback, Garrett Wilson should be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. When Zach Wilson, he had a quarterback other than Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. He averaged 17 fantasy points per game last year and was a wide receiver 1. So with Rodgers, you know, I'm excited to see how many fantasy points he could possibly get.
Yeah, I remember us talking about him last year, and anytime Mike White was in there, we were like, smash, Garrett Wilson. And even Joe Flacco, he had his first emergent game, I believe, against the Cleveland Browns when Joe Flacco played a game, for the Jets. So I'm with you. I think he's definitely the best receiver. Even Allen Lazard, who, was with Green Bay last year, and we were expecting a big jump out of him, it was Christian Watson at times that really took over when he was healthy. So Lazard's just a complementary piece, and then you've got McCole Hardman, who's a speed guy, and most likely Corey Davis is gone. So I'm with you. I think the offense will really flow through Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. So I think it should be really big for him if he ends up going there, which he should.
I expect Allen Lazard to take over the Corey Davis role. And that's kind of just some home run balls and deep shots on the field, kind of what you saw with the Packers last year. Christian Watson was getting most of the targets, but then the deep ball contested catches went to Lazard.
So my final free agency winner is quarterback Russell Wilson. Your quarterback, Joe, for the Denver Broncos. Hard to think that he could have a worse year than he did last year. And even the way he finished the season, he ended up being 16 ranked for quarterbacks, which was tied for his worst, which was previously in Seattle. So the question will be, has Wilson hit a cliff? But I really like what the Broncos have done to support him by bringing in Mike McGlinchey, bringing in Ben Powers. They've really overhauled that offensive line, and that was a huge problem for Russ. So I think having that offensive line now intact is really going to help him, as well as Sean Payton. Sean Payton has been very successful with quarterbacks at a shorter height with Drew Brees. Drew Brees, notoriously was around 6 foot. Russell Wilson at 5'11". So, to me, I think Sean Payton is going to really make this offense excel and really prioritize what Russ is good at. So it'll be interesting to see who he's going to be throwing the ball to. I think it will be Judy and Sutton, but the rumors keep, swirling around. And even though they've said that they won't trade them, they're not going away. So, maybe he'll have some different targets. But if not, he's got Dulcich, Sutton, Tim Patrick coming back, and Jerry Jeudy. So he's got a good playmakers, Russ does.
Yeah, it's going to – I mean, I don't think Russell Wilson has hit the cliff. And the last, few games of the season after they fired Nathaniel Hackett and Justin Allen kind of took over the play calling and Jerry Rosburg was the coach, you kind of saw – you saw Russell Wilson – kind of play as he used to. Still not, the greatest, but he was still better than he had earlier in the year. So that was encouraging for me to believe that he can bounce back this year, especially with Sean Payton. And this year, Russell Wilson has no excuses. They've improved that offensive line massively, so the pocket should be there for him to step up and make some plays. So we'll see what happens.
I'm sorry, that whole Jerry Rosberg thing where he did better than Hackett did. I couldn't hold it in. It's just so funny. So that was our free agency winners. If you've enjoyed this content, we ask you to please like this video and then put a comment below. Who do you think was the biggest free agency winner? You saw Joe and I's. We gave 3 each, but go ahead and give your opinion as well. Also, if you haven't yet, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're a relatively new channel. As of last year, we try to create several videos on a weekly basis. We also have joined Apple and Spotify podcasts, so you can add us there as well if you prefer to listen versus watching. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time.